Oh. Hi folks, you're with Tacitus Today. Tacitus Today, you're a pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio no pictures live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast in your car or your truck as you're driving along, or put in those earbuds and have a listen on public transport. In this essay, I'd like to talk about, in a corporate business setting, the idea of humiliating an employee. So we're talking about an over-promoted, underqualified, insecure manager who's got direct people reports and is so insecure that the only way he or she can sort of lord it over the others, if you like, is by humiliation. Now, the way it used to work, certainly when I was younger, was that your boss was better qualified than you were. He's more experienced, better qualified, more credentialed. He'd done it. He'd been through the mill. He'd achieved it. He had the qualifications and the chalk on the board to prove it. So that's why he was your boss. And when you reach that level of attainment, then you too can be a boss. Now, it wasn't perfect back in the day. The chairman of the board still had useless, moron nephews that were being gifted jobs. So those things still happened. It just didn't happen anywhere near as much as it does today, when you've got affirmative action and race gender quotas. And so what I'm talking about is a few sort of examples of using humiliation as a management device. Now, I feel very strongly about this. If I seen and have seen, people who this is like when I've been an EVP and a CEO and everything, is if I see people doing that, then I'll give them some counselling. Say, hey, you cannot behave this way. That is unacceptable. Now, I wouldn't promote people who were affirmative action and this, in the big corporate, my big corporate life, I was sort of finishing with that just as the wokeness was starting to bite. So kind of the worst of it didn't necessarily affect me directly, or not in that big corporate sense. I come across it every day today, but I don't have to put up with it necessarily. What got me onto this was I was over at a client's. I was in the foyer and the reception area, and there was a guy sort of going across the reception area, and he just, as he got to the door, he's obviously a sales guy, certainly by the way he looks anyway, and his manner, and he's obviously a guy, and then a door opens from sort of on the other side, and a call comes out, hey, Billy Bob, don't go anywhere, stop there. And Billy Bob stops. He looks around a little bit sort of bewildered, like, what do you want type thing. And the guy does this in the foyer with people, me there, other people waiting, and people going back and forth. And the guy says, the sales guy goes, yeah. And his boss comes right up to him, like in his space, like, yeah, you want to fight? Yeah. So clearly you could see the set piece maneuver was coming, or I could anyway. And so I want to know where you're going. He says, well, I'm going to see customer, ABC. I sent you an email on that last night or this morning. So where are you going? I mean, the guy's already got these, so he knows where, and you can tell he knows. He's just trying to create a humiliation ritual. He's talking in a loud voice, and he's got this talking down to him in a sort of condescending tone. So the sales guy said, well, I'm going to, I've already said I'm going to see so-and-so, and it was in that email. And we spoke about it in Monday morning's meeting. And so where are you going? And again, the guy knows. He's already, the whole thing is to just turn it, walk it around, so until the sales guy humiliates himself in public, and then the fragile ego of this over-promoted dude, who, by the way, is a straight white male, as best I can tell. He's a white male, definitely, and I assume straight. So, but the guy kept on repeating what we've already been through, as I've already said. And then the boss guy, kept on wanting to go around and around. So, where are you going? So what did you say? Say that again. Sorry, and so on, and on it went. So it sort of ended with nobody really. The sales guy was bewildered, thinking, like, what are you doing? I didn't detect that there'd been sort of animosity beforehand. I just think this manager guy just sort of, I just want to put this guy in his place. You know, I have to teach him to respect me, and the way to do that is to engage in a public humiliation ritual. You know, that I detected that. It didn't seem like there was some major backstory to this. Maybe there was. It didn't seem like it. So this insecure manager guy stormed off, not happy. He hadn't been able to deliver the knockout blow, and really had no basis for it. The sales guy was not happy with why are you doing this? You could see the guy was, what are you up to? What are you trying to achieve here? So that's it. Now I've seen these sort of things on insecure managers. Say I was taking a train ride, public transport a while ago, and there was I was at one of those train stations where the trains do the turnaround to go back down the line the other way, like they terminate and then go back down the line. So there was a cleanup crew that came onto the train. They were all older white men, some of them looking a bit handicapped, I thought, and their boss, their supervisor, was an Asian chick that could barely speak English, and brutish and brimming with that insecure, over-the-top faux confidence that the Asian chicks just seem to be uniquely managed. And the guys were terrified of her, these older men. And so if they tried to ask a question or, what do you want me to do? Well, you do what I say or you'll lose your job. You do what I say. Yeah. And this sort of thing. And she was acting like a fucking prison guard commandant. And I really thought of putting in a complaint. I thought, Jesus Christ, is that the future all us white folks have got to look forward to in Australia? Being bossed around by people like that. Fuck. But these things have been around for a while, and it's one of my pet management peeves. You cannot put over-promoted, underqualified people in managerial roles. Now, sometimes. I remember I put a guy in charge. He was one of these genius computer programmers, and I put him in charge of a project years ago. Put him in charge of a project that involved a lot of software coding. And whilst he was a genius programmer and quite a good organizer, actually, of tasks to be done, he was one of the most fucking useless people managers you could imagine. Quite apart from his social skills were, which geniuses like that tend to have pretty average social, because his social skills were minimal, and because he had no concept of how to talk to people, he would create problems with his management style. Again, his technical ability, no doubt about it. His organizational ability, very good, but it was the people side of it. And I had to talk to him again and again, even though he was superbly well qualified in the other two, he just couldn't get that together. Nor was he just someone who, would in a stressful moment would make an irritable utterance or something. It wasn't that. He just didn't know how to do it, and he had this strange, odd fear that everybody thought he was an idiot, as in a social skills idiot, and therefore he had this image that everybody was laughing at him behind his back. And it took me quite a while to assure him, look, that's all in your imagination. You're trying to retaliate against these people for doing something that only exists in your imagination. And I finally sort of managed to settle him down, but it took a while. It wasn't easy. So it is possible that people with piss poor people management skills can get into supervisory roles, but I doubt a half illiterate Chinese chick is, what is she, an expert at train cleaning or something that qualified? No, she's an affirmative action hire. Now, on just coming back to my own experience here, and just trying to recognise the high cost of this sort of behaviour in business. And this essay probably would suit people that are either in business or have a supervisory role or background or something. But I this is years ago now, but I'm in my 20s at this point. So I'm like a junior VP guy, and my job is to fly around the world setting up not so much factories, but places of assembly. So all the components come in from around the place and they're assembled and packed up, and that's my job to set those up. And it's very regional back in the day. So I was running around all over the world doing that. and often in pretty tight time schedules. So I'm constantly moving into different time zones every day, and moving pretty quickly. So you become exhausted, even as a young guy. You become exhausted pretty quick. Just the constant moving, the changing of time zones, disruptions to sleeping patterns, and so on. So anyway, I get to somehow I can't remember where I am now. So, but 7 o'clock in the evening, say, and all I want to do is get something to eat and get some have some sleep. I'm exhausted, so I use the company corporate credit card, and it gets rejected. And I think, shit, what's that? I don't have enough credit left on my credit card, given it's a joint account with my wife. So, and I think you had to have like a couple of $1,000 or something at the time if you're like an international visitor. So, like a couple of $1,000 spare credit on the card. So anyway, I called the office, and I just assumed it must be some accounting error or some administrative oversight. I didn't think beyond that. So I I got hold of one of the women in accounts in the company in Australia, and she seemed to know what it was, but didn't say. Oh yeah, I'll put you through to Billy Bob, the who's my boss, like the EVP, whatever he was, and he takes the call, and I tell him, look, I said there's something wrong here. The credit card's being rejected, and I need this. I've got no other I've got no other way of paying for the hotel bills. I don't really want to have to sleep on the street tonight in a strange country where they find dead bodies floating down the river. So he doesn't even respond to that. And he says, so where are you? And I've just told him where I am. Yeah. Well, I'm in so-and-so. I've just said that. So, and it's the same as this guy was behaving in the foyer that I saw some days ago. It's the same sort of process. I want to put you in your place. So instead of talking to me or discussing it with me or anything like that, he just, I know what I'll do. I'll stop his credit card. That's in the corporate credit card. I won't tell him. I won't say anything. I'll just stop the credit card, and then he'll be forced to sort of bow down and grovel before me, because he's in the middle of nowhere. He's at somewhere. He's going to have to do some serious groveling. Otherwise, I won't approve the reinstatement or the lifting of the ban on the credit card, whatever it is, or whatever he did. So I said, well, you've got my itinerary. You know where I'm going to be and what I'll be doing. And it was almost the same, almost word for word, what this guy in the foyer did a few days ago. So where are you? What did you say? What are you doing? Who are you seeing? You've got it all. Oh, I want to hear it from you. What, you mean you stopped the credit card for that? Just because, you've got to be kidding me. So anyway, I went through it, and he'd made his point that, hey, I can fuck you up whenever I want. I can stop your credit card. So you better, like, I don't know if anyone's seen the movie Deliverance, but the scene where John Voight's there, you better pray for me, boy, and you better pray good. And it almost had that sort of wider tone about it. And so anyway, he. I did the requisite groveling. I did not want to be living on the street, staying on the street in a third world country. Now, I'd been at this hotel a few times before, so it wasn't like I was unknown. So anyway, he says, "Oh, all right, then I'll reinstate the card," and I put it on my list of things. I'm going to talk to you when the fuck I get back. I was absolutely livid by what he did. Again, no discussion, no warning, nothing. Just did it, and for no reason. He knew exactly where I was and what I was doing. So anyway, I go back to the thingy. So it'll take about an hour for the card to be in. So I go back to the desk, and the guy, like the head, whoever it is, he says, no, these things take 24 hours before they refresh, because it has to go through our booking system or something like that. So it'll take 24 hours to refresh it. What? You got to be kidding. So I had to do another lot of groveling to the hotel manager and say, look, explain it to him. And I didn't tell him that the guy just arbitrarily stopped it. I said, look, there's been an administrative glitch in the office. you know me, I've been here before, and da 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 da. And so I begged and grovelled there, and he then personally approved that I could stay at the hotel that night, and have something to eat and everything. I would stay at the hotel that night to and get the matter resolved the following afternoon, or the following day, and so he did that. So he signed off on that, and I thought, thank fuck for that. So when I got back to and the card did come back on, by the way, and it was all settled and sorted. But when I got back to Australia, I decided to say, hey, don't ever fucking do that again, all right? And I was at the point where it could have come to blows. And he tried to put the smirk and said, "Oh well, I just wanted to know what you're doing. That's all." No, you didn't. You're a fucking prick. And it got unpleasant. But I extracted from him, under no circumstances will you ever do that again. All right. I was only trying to find out what you're up to. No, you knew what I was up to. You had the itinerary. You knew exactly what I was up to. Don't give me that. So this is. But again, he's the chairman's nephew, that sort of thing. Totally over promoted. So when you put people in charge who are so underqualified and insecure, they have that natural insecurity that they can't project their power and authority by competence and by qualifications and by achievements and by accomplishments. When they can't project their power or control as they would see, and their need for self-esteem, as they can't project that, then through any other means, then humiliation is often the only thing they can resort to, and it's a scourge. Now, I'm seeing it all over the place today, and the primary reason is affirmative action, people being race, gender quotas, and the whole thing. There are so many people out there now who are unqualified. And the minute they come across a qualified person of any description or flavour, then their first instinctive reflexive action is to engage in some sort of humiliation or some sort of thing where I'm the parent or I'm the teacher and you're the child and this is kindergarten. That seems to be also the go-to. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.